جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب عليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة أن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض والميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض من أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل السابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يقسمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعلمون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أحد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط أفأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أن خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وَظَلَّلْنَا لَهُمْ فَمِنْهَا رَكُوبُهُمْ وَمِنْهَا يَأْكُلُونَ وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا مَنَافِعُ وَمَشَارِبُ أَفَلَا يَشْكُرُونَ وَاتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ آلِهَةً لَعَلَّهُمْ يُنصَرُونَ لَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ نَصْرَهُمْ وَهُمْ لَهُمْ جُندٌ مُحْضَرُونَ فَلَا يَحْزُنكَ قَوْلُهُمْ إِنَّا نَعْلَمُ مَا يُسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الْإِنسَانُ أَنَّا خَلَقْنَاهُ مِن نُّطْفَةٍ فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُّبِينٌ وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقَهُ قَالَ مَن يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ قُلْ يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ خَلْقٍ عَلِيمٌ الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُم مِّنَ الشَّجَرِ الْأَخْضَرِ نَارًا فَإِذَا أَنتُم مِّنْهُ توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. بیٹی علی کی تربت زہرا پہ آئی ہے، بیٹی علی کی تربت زہرا پہ آئی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، کہتی ہے اے حسین کی اماں اٹھو اٹھو، زینب سے کربلا کا ذرا ماجرا سنو، اماں ہمارے رنج و مصائب ہے دردناک، اماں ہمارے قلب و جگر ہو چکے چاک، بیٹی علی کی تربت زہرا پہ آئی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، اماں ہمارے مرد ہی سب قتل ہو گئے، اماں نہا کے خون میں بے چار سو گئے، اماں پرے ہے نہر پر عباس روٹھ کر، اماں سکینہ سوتی ہے زندہ میں بے پدر، بیٹی علی کی تربت زہرا پہ آئی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، اما کہاں سے اکبر نوشا کو لاؤں میں، اما کہاں سے اصغر نادا کو پاؤں میں، اما لہو میں ڈوب کے قاسم بھی چل بسے، اما حسن کو منہ نہ دکھانے کو ہم رہے، بیٹی علی کی تربت زہرا پہ آئی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، اما وہ میرے اون محمد میرے پسر، میدان کربلا میں کھڑے ہے کٹھائے سر، اما حسین کرب و بلا ہی میں رہ گئے، اما حسین سارے مصائب کو سہ گئے، بیٹی علی کی تربت زہرا پہ آئی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، اما وہ بیویوں کا تڑپنا وہ شور و شین، اما رہے گی یاد وہ آہو بکا وہ بین، اما رباب روتی ہے اصغر کو صبح و شام، اکبر کو یاد کرتی ہے لیلائے تشنکا، بیٹی علی کی تربت زہرا پہ آئی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، بازو کے نیل دیکھیے اما خدا گواہ، مقتل کی گھرد دیکھیے اما خدا گواہ، اما یہ بے بسی ہے قیامت کی بے بسی، اما ہمارے حال پہ روتی ہے بے بسی، بیٹی علی کی تربت زہرا پہ آئی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، آئی صدائے خبر سے زینب تو صبر کر، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا رکھ دیں گے پیش رب، بیٹی تمہارا بھائی شہ مشرقین ہے، بیٹی تمہارے صبر میں فتح حسین ہے، بیٹی علی کی تربت زہرا پہ آئی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، کرتا لہو بھرا ہوا بھائی کا لائی ہے، محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم۔
مؤمنين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Mu'mineen, on behalf of the Jamaat, I'd like to extend our condolences to the Imam of our time and to all of the Mu'mineen on the occasion of the Shahadat of Sayyida Zainab alayha salam. Mu'mineen, can I please request the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha for Marhum Yusuf Ali Abdullah Nur Muhammad, for Marhuma Sughra Rahim, and for all marhumin, Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillah, we are grateful to have Sheikh Mujahid Ali Sharif to once again be delivering the Majlis for us this evening. Can I please ask all the mu'mineen to join me in welcoming him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Sayyida Zainab salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For the courage and safety of Sahibul Zaman, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
May I request Mu'mineen to please recite Surah Fatiha, Surah the mother of this community. I believe that it is her death anniversary today. She passed away around this time during the wafat of this great lady we are commemorating tonight. For her and for the Mu'mineen of Nur Muhammad family, the Marhumin of Sheikh Dewji family, for Marhumin of Musadala family, and for Allah al-Mu'minin al-Fatiha. Bismillah. I would request Mu'mineen sitting on that side if they would move a little bit inside, if you don't mind. Please recite Salawat. It would be nice if you are equally distributed, because what happened is on 13th of Rajab, my neck was actually paining me at night after Majlis, concentrating just on one side, and here we just have one or two Mu'mineen. Now, so please recite Salawat. من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والجنة للمطيعين والنار للعاصين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وأعز المرسلين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين ذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه المبين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم. Please recite I know that during winter at around this time it feels like midnight. For us to recite Majlis at this time is also difficult. I'm not as young as I used to be when I first came to Wessex. Things have changed. I've lost hair on my head, and they have also become gray because I was in Wessex. Now I'm approaching my old age, and we have the habit of sleeping early as well. So when we are told to recite Majlis, I cannot say it is an effort, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. But the way you people are reciting salawat is unhelpful, honestly. You see, it is literally a lullaby, I would say, giving me the sleep. So may I request you, this is salawat which you recite or which we recite. This is one of those things which will inshallah be added on the mizan of our amal on the day of judgment, the weighing scale of deeds. Then all our good deeds will be placed on weighing scale, and still it will not weigh heavy the way it is required. Ahsan, jazakallah. Then it will be said that bring the salawat which they used to recite and edit, and that is how, inshallah, we will be able to attain our salvation on that day. So let us not be bakhil, miser in offering our salutations to Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. So please recite 3 times salawat loudly. One thing is for sure, that whatever we do in this life, whatever acts we commit, are being recorded. These deeds shall be presented to us in the hereafter on the day of judgment, and then we shall be either rewarded or punished accordingly. We will find that Islam is not only instructing us to perform amal salih, to perform the righteous deeds, but it is also encouraging us to perform them purely for the rida, for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in such a manner that we are able to leave behind the traces of those good deeds such that they benefit people after us, or they are able to emulate us in those deeds and follow the path. I have, in the beginning of our discourse, recited the 12th verse of the most famous surah of the Holy Quran, Surah Yasin, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly mentions, Inna nahnu nuhyi al-mawta, indeed we revive the dead. وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُم, and we write down whatever they send forth, whatever they send ahead, وَآثَارَهُم, and whatever they leave behind of their deeds as effects or traces. وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ, and we have figured out everything in a manifest Imam. If we study the life of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wassalam, we will find they did this. The deeds which they performed was purely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nobody else. And they performed those deeds in such a manner that they left behind the traces of those deeds, the effects of those deeds, so that people after them can not only benefit from those deeds, but can actually emulate and follow them in those deeds. Tonight is the 15th of Rajab, and we are commemorating the martyrdom of Aqilatu Bani Hashim, Sayyida Zainab bint Ali salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayha. We extend our condolences to the living Imam of our time, and to our mujtahideen and ulama, and to all the lovers and followers of Ahlul Bayt who are grieving this great lady tonight. If we study her life, we will find that she had a lot to offer to us all, men and women. And should we choose in this life to follow the legacies which she has left behind, then we will find that these legacies are not only going to bring in khilaf, revolution in our lives in this world, but will also play a significant role in helping us attaining najat, in attaining salvation in the hereafter. In tonight's Majlis, inshallah, very briefly, in time permitting, we would like to briefly discuss some of the legacies which this great lady left behind for us to benefit from, and at the same time to emulate her and follow and tread upon her path. One of the legacies which the historians talk about, which the ulama talk about, is attaching importance to acquisition and imparting of ilm, of knowledge, particularly the knowledge of Quran and Ahkam. This is one of her legacies, and there is no doubt about it. We know that when it comes to knowledge, our general understanding about it is that knowledge is of two kinds. One is what we call a secular education or secular knowledge, and the other one is religious knowledge, isn't it? Islam is not discouraging us from acquiring secular knowledge, the general education. Now, in fact, we will find that it encourages us, because Islam wants us to be ahead of everyone in this life. It is encouraging us that from amongst us, that is Muslims, we should have doctors, we should have engineers, we should have IT professionals, we should have pharmacists, we should have nurses, we should have engineers, and people from different professions. And we will find that most of these people also, through their profession, offer services to humanity. So Islam is not discouraging us, but Islam is telling us that in addition to this knowledge which you are acquiring for this world, so that you could live in it comfortably and you are able to have a decent life for yourself, important thing for you as a believer, as a Muslim, as a mu'min, is to have sound understanding of the Holy Quran and the ahkam, that is the deen. Why? What is the reason? The reason is simple. When it comes to all the other types of education, the bottom line is that we are acquiring this for that. At the end of the day, we are able to spend a decent life in this world, isn't it? We should have a good house for ourselves. We should be able to wear good clothes and good food to eat. We are able to support our children and our relatives to have better life in this world. This is the reason, despite the fact that we go out and help others. But this is why I remember that as a child, I was told, "Per nakatu hajam thinde." You study or you will become a barber. Little did they know that being barber will become a big profession. That is today, they are not anymore called barbers, they are called hairdressers. And they seem to be making more money together with the doctors and the pharmacists than anybody else today during the COVID. Because this hair is going to grow on many heads, if not mine. So it is there. The bottom line is that secular education is being acquired so that a decent life. Islam is instructing us that as Muslims, it is your duty to acquire knowledge and understanding of Quran and of your religion, so that together with your physics, together with your body, it is your soul that also thrives. It's your ruh that also thrives. This is what Islam wants. And that is why we will find that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi says, acquire knowledge, for indeed it will acquire for you a true life. So when Imam is saying that you seek knowledge, this knowledge which Imam is talking about includes the general knowledge, but mostly the knowledge of Islam, the knowledge of Quran, the knowledge of Ahkam. Why? Because it will give you true life, or what we call, according to Quranic term, pure life. Hayatan tayyibah. It's going to give you true life that is acquired through knowledge. Is what? Is that the true life which you have acquired of, say, advertising your academic achievements only, or through which the knowledge through which you are able to provide for yourself a beautiful house and the latest model of the car on the road and wear the best of the clothes, or knowledge which leads you to attain certain status in this life so that you can become arrogant. Is this the true life that has been acquired through knowledge? What is the Imam trying to tell us? You see, a person, ulama tell us, that will acquire this true life through knowledge will be the one who will have two things in him, will have attained two things. When he attains these two things, know that he has attained the true life, according to Imam al-Islam. That is through his ilm, through his knowledge which he has acquired. One of the things that has been mentioned is the ma'arifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is being cognizant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have inner knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such that our hearts humble before Him and we submit to Him in this life in all our affairs. This is one of those qualities that will be found in those people who will actually be spending or enjoying the true life Imam is talking about. Ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being cognizant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the good deeds which we perform in this life, including the ibadat, the all forms of worship which we perform, whether it is at home individually or at the center collectively. If the ma'rifah, cognizance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not there, then it is valueless. It's not that we should stop performing it, but what we should do is we should strive to acquire that cognizance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we talk about cognizance of Allah, ma'rifah, you see, it's a lengthy subject, and inshallah, if we are alive and Wessex Jamaat gives me the opportunity in the month of Ramadan, this is one of the things which we will discuss. But very briefly, when we talk about ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is intended? It is intended that our belief should be firm in three things. One, in the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hey, He is there. Two, He is existing and not only he is existing, but have firm belief in his tawheed, in his unity, that he is one and only one. There is no God besides him. And the third thing is having firm belief in the qadrah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he has power over everything. Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. This is ma'rifah, this is cognizance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which has to be attained so that we get the true life Imam is talking about, that is obtained through knowledge. This is ma'rifah. And we will find that there is a beautiful tradition of Imam Ali al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, in which, talking about this, he says in another place, he says, تَعَلَّمُوا الْعِلْمِ فَإِنَّ تَعَلُّمَهُ حَسَنًا. Acquire knowledge. And again, he's talking about specific knowledge. He says, acquire knowledge, for verily its acquisition is an act of goodness. Why? Then Imam goes on to explain, and he says, بِالْعِلْمِ يُطَاعُ اللَّهُ وَيُعْبَدُ. It is only through ilm, that knowledge, Allah is obeyed and he is worshipped. وَبِالْعِلْمِ يُعْرَفُ اللَّهُ وَيُوَحَّدُ. And it is only through knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is recognized, and one believes in his unity, he believes in his tawheed. So this is one of those things, ma'rifah. If it is there, then this person is leading the true life. The life of this world is really not true life. This is not a true life. If we think that this is true life, we will be shocked at the time of death. We will be shocked. An-nasu niyam, the Prophet has said that people are in deep slumber. They are fast asleep. إِذَا مَاتُوا. The day they are going to die, in tabahu, they will wake up. They will wake up to what? To the true life. The actual life. And for that actual life, what we require is the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why you will find that people who do not have, people like me, who do not have the ma'rifah of Allah, can easily waver when it comes to our faith in our iman in Islam. Anybody would come and misguide me easily, especially if you bring somebody with an excellent oration would come, I would, waver easily. Why? Because that ma'rifah is lacking. It's not there. Or when we face problems and difficulties of this life, until then we are good believers. But the moment we are afflicted, you see, we turn away from Allah and we start complaining against Him and running away from our responsibilities as far as our religion is concerned, blaming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the afflictions that have befallen upon us. Why is that happening? It's because of lack of that ma'rifah. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, it is essential that in this life we should give importance to acquisition of knowledge of Quran and the Ahkam. And I must commend the sisters of Wessex Jamaat, mashallah. They have been quite active. In fact, I would say proactive, especially during the lockdown. They have so many ongoing programs. I don't know if you have noticed. You will only notice if you have that habit of talking to your spouses. But if you don't, then show in. But a lot is happening amongst the ladies, mashallah. They have formed this group, Nisa group, Kisab group, and they have Ibadat night, and they meet up on a Yamul Bayt. In addition to that, since last Ramadan, they have Quran Khani regularly. Every week, I believe, on Fridays, they have Quran Khani, and they invite speakers. Well, online it is there, but they invite different speakers to speak for a few minutes, and they increase their knowledge about Quran and about the traditions. What is happening to us as men now? What is happening? Where are we? MashaAllah, our women folk are far, far ahead. But I've yet to hear that there are some special programs for men being conducted. Program on Quran, for example, tafsir of the Holy Quran. It is important. We used to have that at one time in what we call Pink Bungalow. It's gone. It's demolished already. We used to have tafsir. Every other Friday. Alhamdulillah, it should be more. You should have, like in other communities, we have programs, different kinds of modules on Islamic subjects are being held. Should be there. We should be partaking. We should be in the forefront in acquiring so that we are able to strengthen our faith and acquire the ma'rifah, the cognizance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will find that Sa'sa bin Ghalib was a very wealthy person. He once brought his young son in the presence of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. And Imam asked him, who are you? Imam asked him, who are you? And he said that, Mawla, I am Sa'sa, son of Ghalib. Imam said, oh, Sa'sa, the same person who possesses so many camels, the owner of so many camels in those days. Possession of camels was expensive. It's like possessing a jaguar today. And he said, Na'am, I am the same Ghalib. Imam asked him, what did you do with your camels? He said that, Mawla, what I do is I slaughter them and feed the meat to the people. Imam smiled. And he said, Wallah, this is the best thing to do. What Imam is trying to imply is that if Allah has blessed you in this life, share the blessing with others. Especially those who are less fortunate, share the blessings with them. Imam said, Wallah, this is a good thing, which you did. And then looking at the young man who was standing next to him, he said, who is he? And Ghalib bin Sa'sa said, Mawla, he is my son, and he is a sha'ir. Sha'ir means a poet. In those days, poetry was a big thing. In the days of that, that is why you find that the Quran came as a challenge in that society. Poetry. He said, Mawla, he is my son, and he's a great poet. This is what we do when we are asked about our children, isn't it? We take pride in that, and we say, oh, you know, our children, they have excelled, they have become this, and they have become that. When Mawla heard that he is a sha'ir, Imam did not praise him in any way. He said, Ghalib would teach him the Holy Quran, so this is going to be better for him than poetry. Wow. If the Prophet would, Imam would have said today, it would have been an insult, isn't it? Especially to the millennials, isn't it? What an insult. How dare he should be praising. Yeah? Imam said, teach him Quran. This is going to be better for him than poetry. That young man who was present at that time, the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen hit him so hard that he vowed there and there that I am not going to leave my house until such time that I have memorized the whole Quran in its entirety. And this is what he did. You know who that young man was? He was Farazdak. Later on became the great Sha'ir of Ahlul Bayt. Became a great poet of Ahlul Bayt, Farazdak. So one of the things, true life, which Imam is talking about, is attained through knowledge. Knowledge which brings about the cognizance and inner knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what, and another thing for true life is that it brings forth humanly attributes in a person. Ma'rifah together with that akhlaq as human beings. There are so many potentials within us, and most of the time, those potentials are suppressed, probably because of different reasons, family backgrounds, or the kind of community in which we dwell, we live. You see, those are suppressed, but these potentials, behavior, come up through knowledge of Quran, having sound understanding of Quran traditions and the ahkam is one of the ways to bring this akhlaq out. If I'm not mistaken, Ayatollah Shirazi in one of his books, has narrated this anecdote. He says that there was this wise woman, very wise woman, who was traveling in the mountains when she found a precious stone in a stream, very expensive stone she found. So she took it and she put it in her bag, and she continued with her journey. On the way, she met a person who was extremely hungry, and he asked for help. Said, "Is there anything you can give to feed me?" This woman did not have anything at the time, so she just opened her bag to see if there is anything that will come out. Usually women, when they carry those especially big purses, you will find something or the other will come out from it, especially chocolates or sweets or something will always be there. So she opened her bag, and this man who was standing there happened to see the precious stone in her bag. And he said immediately to her, "Forget about everything, give me this. Give me this." Now, when I was reading this, a simple anecdote, I thought to myself, what would be my position? Once again, Chapa, I would have first attacked him. What right do you have to peep into my bag? Isn't it? Here I am going to help you, and you are beggars, cannot be choosers. Who are you to tell me what you want from me? I give you what I want. Here is the man telling her, "Give me this." And without hesitation, Allah, but look at that behavior. She removes that and she just gives him a man. Says, "I want this stone. This is going to be security for me for the rest of my life." He goes away. The following day, he comes back to that woman with the same stone and returns it back. Said, "I don't want this. I have come to return. This is what happened." He said, "I don't want this. I want something that is more precious than this stone." And she asked, "What is that?" "I don't have anything else." I said, "No, you have something in you which is more precious than this." What is that? That attribute of giving without hesitation, that precious stone. That giving attribute which is there in you. That is what I understand. The potentials that exist in us as human beings, and the behaviors which are there within us. We can either become true human beings or we can become beasts and monsters, isn't it? Ma'rifah is lacking, and that is why we have problems today in the society. And that is why we find that our akhlaq is changed. We are good with some and evil and bad with others. Even in the same family, sometimes we will find husband and wife not talking for ages, not willing to even look at each other. Maybe because I'm in matrimonial committee, and there are cases that come to me. I'm surprised sometimes that Rajab. These are the people, when they come to masjid, they are in the forefront. They behave as if they are pious, they are religious, and this is how they behave with each other. Not recognize each other. They don't have khawf of Allah. They don't know that they have died and respond to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some of them are even parents. They have children, for example. This is just parents having problems with their children, not in talking terms at all. The son is not talking to the daughter is not talking to the parents, and brother is not talking with them, and having problems in family, in the fights. The akhlaq, the behavior is disappeared. And you will find that they are in the forefront in all the other professions. Doctors and engineers and huge houses and big cars and big names. Big businesses. Like in akhlaq, it's not there. It's not there. Is this true life? So, اكتسب العلم, Imam says, acquire knowledge, that is sound understanding of Quran and Ahkam, the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what is going to give you true life. And this is what Quran also says. That when Allah and His Prophet call you, لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ, respond, istajibu lillahi wa rasuli. Respond to Allah and His Prophet when they call You forgot to provide you with hayat, with true life. That is where true life. Our souls need to thrive, not only these bodies. It will end someday, and the possessions will be distributed amongst the years. What will remain is this. We are commemorating the martyrdom of this great lady. One of her titles is of Alimatun Ghayr Mu'allama, meaning a scholar who has not been taught by any mortal. This is the title which was given to her by our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayha. Anti ya ammati, O my aunt, bihamdillah, all praise be to Allah. Alimatun ghayru mu'addama. You are such a knowledgeable person who has not been taught by any mortal. She was a great scholar, and there is no doubt about it. If you read, something amazing I read about Abdullah bin Abbas. Abdullah bin Abbas is somebody who is known to be a very reliable source of hadith. And Sunnis particularly rely a lot on him. So do we. Abdullah bin Abbas was a cousin of the Holy Prophet. And he has related so many traditions, so many ahadith. And he has related some of the ahadith traditions directly from Sayyida Zainab. Directly. Without anyone in the middle. He says, Sayyida Zainab, daughter of Amir al-Mu'minin, has said this, khalas. Without going into details or to find out, that she is a woman and whether she should be accepted. No. Such was the status of she was born in that house, the house of knowledge, the house in which the maid, Firda, had the knowledge of Quran, was hafiz of Quran, so much so that if you would talk to her, she would respond to you only in person of Quran. This was the maid. What would you and I expect from the children of that house? This was the status of Sayyida Zainab salamullahi alayha. Knowledge given in one of her legacies, this is what we are talking about, is attaching importance. And history tells us at home with her brothers Hassan and Hussein, she would sit and she would discuss issues with them pertaining to ahkam, to laws. And one of her sayings, many sayings, which she said in presence of her brothers Hassan and Hussein, was the discussion about halal and haram. People blame us, you mullahs, you got nothing but halal and haram to discuss. And in this life, what we tend to do is halal we know, haram we know. But in between halal and haram, there are things that are dubious, unknown, isn't it? Here, you see, we have interest. But there is no mention of halal. There is no mention of haram. This should be a loophole, isn't it? This is the tendency which we have. Sayyida Zainab was discussing this with her brothers about halal, haram, and she gave her opinion. This opinion has then been repeated by none other than our sixth Imam later on. She said that as far as the deen of Allah is concerned, there are three things. It's based on three things. It is either halal, that means something that is lawful, allowed, or it is haram, meaning something that is unlawful, not allowed, khalas, and in between them is something that is unknown. It is dubious, she says. The believers who want the best of this world and the best of the hereafter are those who will abstain from dubious. This is Sayyida Zainab saying. Makruh, for example, karahat makruh, I would say it's makruh. It's not haram, yeah, it's makruh. So what? It's not haram, so we'll go. But one who wants to go a step further and achieve closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, attain the stage of ma'arifah, is not going to look at all these things. Will not just fall into such things. We'll be careful. This is Sayyida Zainab, a scholar. And we will find that, if you study her life, she was possessing this ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And her character, her akhlaq was in line with divine pleasure. This is Sayyida Zainab. Acquisition of knowledge, giving importance. While she was in Medina, she used to conduct sessions for the women of Medina, teaching them ahkam, Islamic laws. So important. Fiqh is something that we are bored with. We do not want to get much into it. We only want to learn ahkam when we feel that we have to face certain circumstances. That is when we come to ahkam, laws, fiqh, as we say. But here is Sayyida Zainab spending her time teaching the women of Medina the ahkam, and not only that, when her father became the Khalif of the Muslims and migrated to Kufa, when Kufa is his capital, Sayyida Zainab came to Kufa. The women folk of Kufa came to seek permission from Amirul Mu'minin so that Zainab could provide them with certain sessions, and she taught them ahkam and the tafsir of the Holy Quran. Tafsir of the Holy Quran. It is said that in one of the sessions, she came across the surah in which it begins Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. Huruf al-Muqatta'at, as it is said. We see in Quran Alif Lam Mim and Alif Lam Ra. Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. This is the surah. Imam Ali Islam called her. Imam Ali was hearing, listening to her, and she probably did not touch on this and moved ahead with a tafsir of other verses. The Imam then calls her and he says to her, Zainab, do you know these letters which are there mentioned? What do they imply? This is in one of our traditions. She said, no, Baba, I do not know. She said, yeah, Kaf refers to Karbala. It refers to Karbala, Kaf. Ha refers to halakat, means destruction. Ya refers to Yazid, who will be responsible. Ain is Atash. He is going to use your thirst as a weapon to fight against you. What are you required to do? Swad. Exercise sabr. So this we will find in one of the legacies of Sayyida Zainab, giving importance to Islamic education, to acquisition of knowledge of Quran and of the ahkam. We, as the followers of Ahlul Bayt, my brothers and sisters, must also strive to give importance to these things and bring about the changes in ourselves so that we are able to attain the shafa'ah in the hereafter. The other legacy which she has left behind is of Azadari of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. There is no doubt about it. She is the first one to hold the Majlis of her brother, and that too in the palace of Yazid, or near the palace of Yazid. This is very important. We all know this Majalis which we hold, let us not take them lightly. Sometimes, because we have been in it for a long time, we begin to take these Majalis for granted. The first one to establish this was Sayyida Zainab after the event of Karbala. We know that when the Ahlul Bayt were taken as captives, amongst them was Sayyida Zainab. They were taken from Karbala to Kufa and then from Kufa to Sham, and in Sham they were put in prison, and then finally Yazid released them. Imam Zainul Abidin was asked by Yazid that, are you going to stay here in Damascus or do you desire to go back to Medina? And our Imam said that, oh Yazid, I cannot comment on this. I need to ask my aunt Zainab. And Sayyida Zainab tells him, go and tell Yazid that we are not going to live here in Damascus. We will go back to Medina. But first a house should be vacated for us here in Damascus. Why? Because since I have left Karbala, I have not wept over my brother properly. I have not wept over him. So a house was vacated in which Sayyida Zainab and all the women folk of of the Ahlul Bayt gather and the Majlis of Imam Hussein. My brothers, my sisters, this is one of the ni'mat which we have at our hand. It is through these majalis do we realize that how many people have been guided. We have some people who have no shame. They stand up and say, Majlis, 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 Majlis. They talk for themselves because they have never benefited. Their hearts were never recipient for the message of Ahlul Bayt anyway from day one. On the other hand, you will find people, they will tell you that had it not been for these majalis of Azam, then today we would not be the Shias of Ahlul Bayt. We would have been lost. Imam Khomeini says, what are we? What are we? We would not have been what we are today had it not been for Hussein ibn Ali and his sacrifice. And the credit goes to Sayyida Zainab, that she is the one. One of her titles we find is of Ummul Masa'ib, which means the mother of calamities. Her life was full of calamities from the beginning till the end. From her childhood, we will find full of calamities. She saw how the Muslims dealt with Rasulullah at the time of his death. Rasulullah passed away from this world. She saw how the Muslims dealt with his mother, Fatima Zahra, after the death of her father. That within 3 months she passed away from this world. They came to burn down the house of Fatima. They threw the door on him that she witnessed Mohsin being killed in the womb of her mother, Fatima. Isn't this an atrocity? She saw how Muslims tied rope around the neck of Amirul Mu'mineen and dragged him towards the court of Abba just so that he gives oath of allegiance. This is what she saw. She saw her father being killed in Masjid Kufa on the 19th of Ramadan. She saw how Muslims dealt with her brother Hassan ibn Ali, how they betrayed him. And she saw that how her brother was poisoned by his own wife, Jaffer bint Ash'as, and then finally what transpiring in Karbala, where she saw how her brother Imam Hussein was martyred together with the entire family. She is the one who gave her own sons and sacrificed them on the plains of Karbala. The atrocities which she faced in this life, Allah. And it did not end there. She was taken as a captive. She left Karbala. She came to Kufa. She was in the prison. From Kufa, she was sent to Damascus. In Damascus, she was in the prison. And finally, when she was freed from there together with our fourth Imam in the Ahlul Bayt, she arrived in Medina and she did not survive thereafter for long. This is Masa'ib. Which of the atrocities on this night should I recite among you? Which of the atrocities? But one of the riwayats, 2 of her sons were sacrificed on the plains of Karbala. We know that they are our own and Muhammad. It is said that she herself sent them to sacrifice their lives for the sake of her brother Al-Hussein in Karbala. And when the bodies of Aun and Muhammad were brought inside the tent, and Zainab was informed, she came into that tent in which the 2 bodies of her sons were lying. You know what she did? She put a musalla in between the 2 bodies. She recited 2 rak'at of prayer, and thereafter she kept her head in sajda and she said, Rabbana taqabbal minna hadha al-Qurban. Oh Allah, accept these sacrifices from us. Thereafter, she lifted her head from the sajda. She looked on the right side towards Aun, then turned and looked towards Muhammad on the left side. And you know what she said to them? She said, oh my sons, Aun and Muhammad, remember, as long as your mother will remain alive, she will never weep over you. Whenever she will cry only for Hussein. She will only cry for Hussein. I would tell Sayyida Zainab, oh my princess, oh my lady, please do not say this, because the heart of a mother is always the heart of a mother.
Historians write that Zainab on the 11th of Muharram left as a captive from Karbala. She cried for her brother, but never cried for Amun and Muhammad. She came in the prison of Kufa. She cried only for Hussein. In Sham, she cried only for Hussein, never for her son. But there is one riwayah which says when she was freed from Sham and she arrived in Medina and she came to her own house, as soon as she entered the house of her husband Abdullah ibn Jaffer, at the moment she entered the house, her eyes fell on a small room in which she saw two small beddings. She saw two small musallas, and she could no longer control herself. She sat down, turning towards Karbala. She said, "Wa'awna, oh Muhammad, oh my son, how is this mother going to live in this house without you?" وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا آل بيت محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالحسنات والخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك قاضي الحاجات إنك ولي الحسنات إنك رافع الدرجات إنك على كل شيء قدير. ماتم حسين.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.
पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ना, पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ना, पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ना, घर से बाहर भी नाने वाली, घर से बाहर भी नाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ना, पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ना, पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में। जिसने बाबा से छुड़ाए थे कई बार असी, जिसने बाबा से छुड़ाए थे कई बार असी, कैद आजाद कराने वाली, कैद आजाद कराने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ना, पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ना, पर्दा दुनिया आई बाजारों में ज़ना, चलते क़दमों से उठा लाई अब्बास के बाद, चलते क़दमों के बाद अली आबिद को बचाने वाली, अली आबिद को बचाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ना, पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ना, दीन की खातिर ये बीवी सालार बनी, दीन की खातिर बीवी सालार बनी, बनके अब्बास दिखाने वाली, बनके अब्बास दिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ैनब, दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ैनब, दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ैनब। नंगे सर पलती रही खुतबे बाजारों में, नंगे सर पलती रही खुतबे बाजारों में, कसरे दुश्मन को हिलाने वाली, कसरे दुश्मन को हिलाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ैनब, दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ैनब, आई बाजारों में ज़ैनब।
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا سيد المرسلين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، وعلى أختك زينب الكبرى، السلام على 9 المأسومين من ذرية الحسين، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن القائم المنتظر المهدي، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا علينا حتى تسلمه وعظك وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد.
Can I please request who be on the ladies' side to kindly take a seat and to follow the instructions of the volunteers with regards to leaving the centre in a safe manner. For the gents, can I please request that as you do leave the centre, please kindly maintain social distancing. Ahsan.